That is the Bach Suite Number 1 in G major, the famous prelude as performed by Mstislav Rostropovich. And the reason I played that is, well, you'll find out very shortly. In the studio with me this morning is the artistic director, and the founder of the Virtuosi Concert series. Takes place at U of W Eckhart Grammatte Hall. Harry Strub is in the studio. Good morning, Harry.
Good morning, Michael.
Here we are again. You know, it seems like it was just yesterday you were in last year announcing 2016-2017 season. So here you are again with the 2017-2018 season. Your cup of coffee, because it was a late night for you. You had Angela Hewitt yesterday for the Virtuosi Concerts, which was a complete sellout. According to you, they were sitting in the rafters. Even though there aren't any rafters there, they were sitting way up top. So let me just, before we start talking about the new season, how was it yesterday? I wasn't there. Tell me about the concert with Angela Hewitt.
It was really incredibly exciting. She's become such a strong pianist that she was able to hold us in thrall with every note. I know that sounds like an impossible hyperbole, but that's the way the audience responded. And I guess a kind of proof is the way she sells CDs after a concert. We've just never seen so many. One person bought $150 worth of CDs. Just shocking.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So she's a great favorite of Winnipeggers. And indeed, she was the first concert we ever presented in 1985. So what a treat to have her back after 32 years.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of pianists, your next two concerts, you've got Janina Filakovska coming up, and then you've got, looking up at the Dali String Quartets. There's still three concerts.
Amazing.
Left in this season. Go to their website to get tickets and information. So you've got another amazing pianist coming up, next at the beginning of April. But we're here to talk about the season that's still to come in 2017-2018. And I kind of tipped the hat a little bit when I played that Bach Concerto. You want to tell us about that concert? That's very, very exciting.
It's exciting in part because we're doing the entire Bach cello suites in one evening, doing it with two intermissions. We have to give the guy a little bit of a break, after all, in between each pair of suites. But, of course, it's so thrilling and great that you played Rostropovich just now, because that was one of Robert Cohen's early teachers. And Robert Cohen is also the cellist of the Fine Arts Quartet, who were in Winnipeg twice in the last 4 years. Now, why Robert Cohen? Many cellists would have done a fantastic job with the Bach cello suites, and some have offered to do them all in one evening as well. And Bach wrote them all over the place, wrote them here, wrote them there, but when Cohen plays them, it sounds like one piece emotionally. That can only happen if you really understand Bach. And after all, it came out of one brain, one nervous system, and this is a man who knows and loves Bach and responds to it. He didn't set out to make them sound that way, but he couldn't help himself. Emotionally, that's how he responded to the music, and that's what tipped me over to invite him on this marathon. After all, we've had Bach cello suites frequently in town, one way and another, and indeed, Virtuosi Concerts presented two cellists performing them some 8 or 10 years ago. So it's quite a thing, this marathon of 6 Bach cello suites in one evening. And as far as I can tell, it's the first time this has been done in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm. And that's almost this time next year, April of next year.
A whole year away.
A whole year away, which does go by fast. So how does the whole season kick off? Starts in September.
We worked very hard to bring in the Montrose Trio. Who's the Montrose Trio? Well, all I have to do is mention Jackie Parker. John Kimura Parker now has a trio with another superstar, Martin Beaver. Now, Martin Beaver and Clive Greensmith were members of the Tokyo String Quartet. And in their final tour, Jackie Parker was their pianist at that time. But Jackie had to share a dressing room with Martin and Clive at a couple of points. And Jackie asked him, "So what's life like after the retirement of the Tokyo String Quartet?" And that started a conversation which ended up with a trio. And they agreed. And then they said, "Well, now that we've got a trio, we've got to get a name for a trio." And Clive said, "Well, I won't try to imitate his British accent, but he said, my favorite wine is Chateau Montrose. And it's so good that I can't afford it. It's not part of my pocketbook. But I've just always loved this wine, and sometimes people will buy me a bottle of Chateau Montrose." He said, and Jackie said, "Well, that's great because where I live in Houston, at Rice University is very close to the Montrose Arts District." And then Martin Beaver piped in, "Well, I grew up on Montrose Street in Winnipeg." And so it was set. There was no way that they could go backwards. And so we're calling the concert From Tokyo to Montrose Street for this inauguration in Winnipeg of the Montrose Trio.
Cool. Maybe they can get sponsored by the Chateau Montrose.
Yeah, well, everybody in the world will want that.
So that's a great way to start it off, with an amazing trio there. What are some of the other highlights? I mean, obviously every concert, you chose and programmed this whole thing, but for Winnipeg audiences, what else do you think really stands out? What's become an annual feature of Virtuosi Concerts is a special concert with two performances called Artists of Manitoba. It gets anchored by a string ensemble of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. It's called the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra String Ensemble, which is pretty much a quartet or a quintet. But our featured star this year is also starring in the Winnipeg Symphony's series, and it's Lara Chikevich, soprano, a beautiful singer, and she's performing one of my all-time favorite pieces, Berlioz' Nuit d'été. That's why I'm calling it Smiles of a Summer Night. It just seemed to fit. I had to have that title from a famous Ingmar Bergman movie. I think it was the only comedy he ever did, and it really lingered in my head, Smiles of a Summer Night. Well, Berlioz' Nuit d'été is such a beautiful piece. It prefigures Mahler by 50 years. When you hear it, it'll sound a little bit like Mahler. And when Berlioz wrote it, it was for orchestra, and then he also wrote an arrangement for piano, and that's the way it normally gets performed. But there is no string quartet version that I could find, and I wanted it all these 25 years. Finally, we found somebody in Europe who had a string quartet version, and he was so generous with us. He sent us all the parts, and he's thrilled to and he sent us a CD so we could hear what it sounded like. So Berlioz' Nuit d'été, and the other featured artist on this series will be Madeleine Hildebrand, who was our star last year of Artists of Manitoba. So we're happy that she's back to support her friend Lara Chikevich. So those are a few of the highlights. We have the Montrose Trio, we've got the Bach Solo Cello Suites, Smiles of a Summer Night. I just want to mention I'm in the studio, in case you just tuned in. I'm chatting with Harry Strub. We're talking about the Virtuosi Concert Series for the next year, 2018. Harry is the founder and artistic director as well. So we're, nine concerts in all, starting in September. And do you want to touch upon some of the other ones as well?
Well, another highlight happens during the Remembrance Day week. It's the Dover String Quartet who we're bringing back. One of the most exciting string quartets in the world. I mean, after they won all the prizes at Banff in 2013, they did hundreds of concerts in an incredibly short time span, all of them with rave reviews. Well, they sent me a program that was irresistible. It was a commemoration of two Holocaust composers, Simon Lax and Victor Ullmann. Now, coincidentally, I was in Banff at a concert of theirs about a year and a half ago, and they played the Victor Ullmann string quartet, and it was so powerful. Now, you'd think that a commemoration of two Holocaust composers would produce a very tragic and sad concert. But it's music, ladies and gentlemen, and music doesn't work quite that way. To put a concert together, you can be sure that all four of the string quartets that we'll hear, including Mendelssohn and Schumann, will transform the sadness, the grief that everybody will come into that concert with into beauty, joy, hope, and love. That was the Dover Quartet's special design for this overall program.
Mm-hmm. That's called the Triumph of the Spirit on November 4th. And
yes, very well titled, Triumph of the Spirit, not Dejection of the Spirit, not Death of the Spirit, but Triumph of the Spirit.
I'm kind of interested, too, in this one called Palette of Colors, where the Chewy brothers are coming back in. Chewy brothers along with Philip Chew on the piano. They've been here a couple times, the Chewy brothers. You want to tell us about that concert, Palette of Colors?
We call it Palette of Colors because all the reviewers talk about the Chewy brothers with these painterly descriptions, a beautiful array of colors and things like that. But the Chewy brothers, who were such a smash sensation with Women's Musical Club just last year, this time they're coming with a pianist named Philip Chew. Now, Philip Chew, who very few people in Winnipeg know, had just won the inaugural Prix Goyer, $125,000. The prize is called for Extreme Emerging Artist. Certainly it's an extreme prize, but this is Extreme Emerging Artist. But this is a prize you can't apply for. They have 6 anonymous jurors going around to concerts secretly, listening to a variety of young artists, and they picked Philip Chew. You can't apply for this prize. So really extraordinary that we just latched on at exactly the right moment. This is a tour that's being arranged by Prairie Debut.
Prairie Debut, that's that Canadian, that's right. They do, Prairie Debut does Canadian tours, and usually a lot of small towns too, not just large cities like Winnipeg, but smaller towns as well. So are you guys going to be posting this on your website soon?
Yeah, it came out so fast, and you can almost feel the heat of the brochure. It's so hot off the press on Thursday or Friday that I don't think it's up on the website as yet.
Yeah, so I know that you're going to be working on that. So there's a total of 9 concerts I see here, and then there's also something called the Canada 150 Project, which again I think of all the concerts, and I'm looking all the way across all of them, I would say that perhaps this is the most unique, I guess, of the, other than the Bach cello suites, but this is Canada 150 Project, and it's a 5 different piece depicting different regions, different natural elements and composers. Tell us about that concert in October.
This October concert, the musicians are the Cheng Square Duo, which we'll probably just call the Cheng Duo, but the Cheng Square Duo, they call themselves, a brother and sister from Ottawa who are, they're so youthful and so brilliant. It's really remarkable. And the Canada Council and other agencies have accepted their proposal for this Canada 150 project. Well, what is it? They've commissioned 5 living composers to reflect the regions of Canada and the natural elements of Canada. So, for example, the Atlantic region with rain and water, the North region with snow and ice, and the regions in between. So we have 5 composers, which is not usual for virtuosi concerts to present living composers for a whole concert. But this was irresistible because as well as doing that, they're commissioning visual artists to produce videos to complement the music. And in addition to that, the composers have to work with the visual artists, so that it's going to be an incredibly integrated experience of our country, 150 years of this country. It's an exceptional event. Now, it gets premiered at the National Gallery in Ottawa in June So we won't know a thing about it until at least June, and that's when it'll get launched and it'll get polished, and then bringing it to Winnipeg in October. Just extraordinary.
And we'll be represented in the Prairie region by the former composer in residence Vincent Ho.
Vincent
Ho. WSO. That's kind of
yes,
cool.
We're so happy with that.
Yeah. Well, Harry, it's been a pleasure. There's a lot of more concerts. There's a number of ones we didn't mention, but you can go to their website soon. virtuosi.mb.ca. They'll have it up there soon. I know he's under the gun right now, pressure to get it up, but he does have the brochures ready. We'll have some here in our studio at classic107.com and classic107.com, 20 St. Mary's Road if you need to pick one up. And again, that's the Virtuosi Concert Series for 2017-2018. Some amazing concerts that to look forward to. But there's still 3 more for this year. And you can check out those on virtuosi.mb.ca. You've got Yanina Filakovska as the next concert beginning of April.
Thanks again so much, Michael.
Thank you. And it's very exciting. Thanks for coming in to announce that. I really appreciate it.
Love it. Bye-bye.